Hello, welcome back to the Phases podcast.
Part 2 of our super exciting alien episode. We hope everyone's had a good week.
Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed part 1 of our episode. Can confirm we're both still here.
Or are we? That was weird. That was weird how that happened.
So we left on the note of Jade not wanting to share her UFO story.
And I didn't share it. The whole episode we recorded, I didn't share it. But now I feel like after ending there on that cliffhanger, that I should share it. It's really not that exciting, but okay. So it was a winter evening in 2020 or something. I don't know. It was like 2 years ago. And I was getting in my car. It was probably like 8 o'clock at night or something, because I was getting in my car to drive to my brother's house because I was living with my mom at the time and the bathroom was getting renovated, so the shower wasn't working. And I wanted to shower, so I was driving to my brother's house down the road to use his. So I remember that very clearly, that I was getting in my car and my phone was already in my car and I was kind of like getting in the doorway. And then all of a sudden I looked up in the sky and there was this thing hovering above the rugby field. And it seemed like I was the only one who could see it because there was like dozens of people playing rugby at the time and nobody was like freaking out. But I think it was probably about the size of maybe like 3 cars. It was pretty big and really low. Maybe like a 2-story building, 3-story building kind of level. And it was dark at the time. It was pitch black, but there was 3, so I couldn't see it at all. All I could see was 3 lights, and I could kind of make out the shape of it. And there's 3 lights on it, kind of triangle shape, and it was completely silent. And that's what freaked me out, was the fact that it was silent, and it was just kind of going really, really slowly, hovering over the town and right over my house on the top of me. And then I just watched it slowly go into the horizon for, I don't know, probably, I don't know, nearly 10 minutes. I watched it, just standing there watching and just like amazed by it. And it was like this really weird feeling that came over me. Like I wasn't scared at all. And part of me was like, your phone is right there. Just grab it and take a photo. But then I was also like, I don't want to miss this. I don't know what this is, but I'm not scared right now. And if I try to take a photo, it's probably going to disappear. So I didn't take a photo, but I watched it for ages and then until it disappeared, until I couldn't see it. And it was really low and really slow. So my first thought was like, is it a drone? But then you'd hear it. You'd hear like a buzz. And if it was a plane, you would.
Yeah.
And if it was a plane, it would have just gone. It wouldn't just be there. And then I rushed inside and I was like, Mom, oh my gosh, I just saw this thing. And they were like, did it look like this? And I was like, yes. And they're like, we saw something like that the other night. So yeah, that's my UFO story.
It's giving me goosebumps.
It was very strange. I wasn't scared at all. Like you'd think you would be, but I wasn't.
Wow.
It was just kind of like awe.
Yeah.
I just wanted to watch. I wanted to like fully absorb it and take it in because I didn't know how long it would be there.
Yeah.
After that, I did a ton of research into drones and stuff, trying to figure out what it was because I was like, there's got to be some explanation for it. But any drone I looked at, because there are massive drones, but they noisy as they go. They make tons of noise, so it wasn't that. Either that or I was crazy, which is very possible.
Yeah, but then if your mum saw it
Mm.
a different night,
Yeah.
why in that area too?
Mm.
That's
I
interesting.
think probably because I was like learning more about the whole UFO world at that point. So maybe I was more open to it or something. I don't know. Maybe I imagined it.
No, because then your mum would have had to imagine the same thing.
Mm. Yeah, I think they had seen something smaller that was like green. It was kind of like flying around a lot, like doing
Yeah.
acrobats and stuff. Which I don't know. There's so many things. Like there's so many UFO sightings, and then people are like, "Oh, it's a balloon. Oh, it's this."
Mm.
But there are the few things, like maybe the 1% of sightings that are really, you cannot explain it. I don't know.
That's interesting that you didn't feel scared too.
Yeah. And I knew in my head, I was like, nobody's gonna believe me if I don't get a photo, but I don't really care right now.
Imagine if you tried to take a photo though and it didn't show up.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have because it was so dark.
But they probably have technology as well that
Mm.
stops them from being visible in a camera lens.
Yeah. Either that or the men in black show up. But yeah, I've heard quite a few other stories from, UFO sighting stories from people, and a lot of them say something similar where like they didn't get a photo even though that they could have, but they just felt this awe. They were not scared. A lot of people say they were scared, but a few say there was like no fear. It was just like, wow, I need to watch this. I need to just pay attention.
So, where do you think said UFOs come from? Like, is it another planet or let's talk about space.
Space is pretty big. I guess that's an understatement. Um,
But the name, like, what fascinates me is that space is literally the space outside of Earth. Like, that just blows my mind every time.
yeah. It is hard to wrap your mind around that.
And what is the space? Like, how much space?
Yeah. Does it just go on? Yeah.
Yeah, infinite, but like,
How though?
yeah, how do we live in an infinite world?
Yeah, and then you get into like the multiverse theories, which there's like different versions of the same universe that we're in, and that blows my mind. I don't really like that.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I just like the idea that we are an Earth, whether we're round or flat or in a dome or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and it's just us.
What do you think the odds are that everything we think or that have been taught in school about Earth and stuff, what do you think the odds are that it's all wrong?
What we were taught in school is highly, highly unlikely.
Hmm.
Maybe like 1% of it is true.
Which percent?
I was going to say gravity, and then I was like, well, no.
Yeah.
Because if we're in a dome and the Earth is flat, then gravity's not real.
Uh-oh, kooky territory. I feel like this is why we got shut off. I think we got shut down in the last episode by the big daddy government or something because we were talking about this stuff.
They probably don't even know that we exist.
I don't know. Back to when you asked where I thought the aliens were from. We talked a bit about this in the episode that was cut, but I like the theory that it's a lot of what we're seeing, this crazy technology and visitors or whatever it is. The theory that it's just humans in the future, like in millions of years in the future, and they're kind of coming back to now to like check on us or something, or like a destination holiday for the future. Like, oh, let's go back and check out 2005's humans. Look at how silly and dumb they were. You know?
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm.
I don't love that because I don't love the idea that I'm in 2025 and there's a me that's already like old, you know?
Yeah, I think you're long dead by then. But
Oh,
like, I think by the time there's this crazy technology, it's like by the time we can control gravity.
oh, like our kids will be able to come back and see what their great grandma did.
Yeah, maybe like 2 million years from now.
Oh,
I don't know. You never know. I think that there's a lot of technology that, like, the governments have that we'll never know about.
Yeah, definitely. But then what if it all just gets blown up,
What gets blown up?
the technology?
Just all of the technology just gets blown up.
No, but with, like, the wars and stuff that are happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it could. I think it's definitely happened before where
Yeah.
ancient civilizations have been wiped out by apocalypses.
I just can't imagine Earth going for another 2 million years, you know?
I think it's like a blip, though, really, in the span of
Mm.
if the universe is real, then it's just a little dot. Boop. That video used to scare me so bad of the one where they show the size of Earth and then like the next planet and then the next planet and then the star and then the sun and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and Earth is just like this little s- speck of dust. Ew, that gives
Yeah.
me nightmares. Ugh.
Do you think that's real, though?
I don't know. Yes? No? I feel like we're told a lot of lies about space, but I think there are other planets. Like I don't think the Earth is flat, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
I don't trust NASA at all. Anything that comes out of them.
I just don't understand why. Well, I mean, I guess if we did know the truth, a certain group of people wouldn't be able to control us, so that's why we're not allowed to know. But it's just so odd to me that we come here and we're sold a complete lie, and then we live
Mm.
under these particular rules that were made by said group of people, allegedly. Like, that is so weird, don't you think?
Do you think that the reason we come here, though, or some of us maybe, is to realize that and to break out of it? But then I guess that's like Matrix stuff. Like, are we meant to break out?
Yeah, I think we are meant to break out.
But then, like, the designers of the Matrix that we're in, why would they design it just so we could break out? Or is that the point? We've just lost a bunch of people.
When I talk about Matrix, I mean, like, how we've been programmed and, like, the working 9 to 5 and all that kind of stuff, like the school system. But I think when I say, like, breaking out, it means, like, not living like that and realizing you don't actually have to live like that,
Hmm.
and deep healing and nourishing our bodies with food that we're not taught to nourish ourselves with, I guess.
Hmm.
Like breaking out of all of those ways that we were programmed. Like having cereal for breakfast is healthy,
Hmm. Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Obviously, that's a very surface level one, but yeah, I think we came here not. I think we came here remembering, but then it's programmed out of us at such a young age. So then we go on living in this program and then being more and more and more programmed throughout our lives.
Hmm.
We have lots of awakenings, and some people don't acknowledge them, I guess. Some people don't want a bar of it because it's slightly scary.
Hmm.
Not slightly scary, it's terrifying. But it keeps happening, and then eventually you kind of can't push it down anymore. So you step into that world, and then you realize, whoa.
Hmm.
And then you think that's you, like you're awakened, and then you go on for a bit, and then it happens again, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, if you think that you're awake, you're not. Not yet.
Not even not yet. Like it just keeps going. You just awaken deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah,
And I think it will be like that until we.
and it's traumatic. The image of, like, the spiritual awakening is this all, like, butterflies and hippies and just, "Wee, everything's great," but it's not. It's like you get hit with waves of despair and, like, everything is fake and nothing matters, and then something else happens, and it's a lot of deep work. And
Yeah.
it comes back around eventually, but I think, yeah, you get to the point where you realize that nothing like, you'll never know it all, and you'll always be learning more, so
I think it's interesting how our purposes are different.
mhm,
Like, obviously, a lot of people have the same one, or, there'll be groups of people who share the same purpose.
yeah,
What do you feel like your purpose is? Not in the matrix, but like,
I have no idea.
you know how you're really into like health and
Mhm,
nourishing your body and curing
yeah,
dis-ease with food and nutrition? I wonder if that is like your purpose, your contract, the thing you came here to do. And if 9 to 5 work didn't exist, not that you do that, I wonder if that's what your role in the village would be, let's say.
yeah, maybe. I don't know, because I feel like, especially as a young person, it kind of changes, like, what you're passionate about, and you think, "Oh my god, this is what I'm meant to be doing," and then a few years later, it's like, "Oh, never mind, that didn't work out." So I don't know, but I have definitely been drawn to this my whole life.
Mm.
I love the idea that, like, the medicine woman is coming back. Like, you go to the person who knows a lot and has all of this knowledge on a lot of different kind of resources, like, herbs and supplements and foods and then, like, the spiritual side of things, like the meditation and stuff, rather than just you go to a doctor and they give you some drugs, allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think your purpose is?
I guess I've always been in love with the idea of helping people,
Mhm.
and throughout my life, that has looked different in all the different phases of my life.
Yeah.
But I think by now, I've kind of realized that the best way I can help people is by helping myself.
Yeah.
And I notice the ripple effect around me when I've got the strength to carry on helping myself even when times are really tough and I think the world's gonna end, my world's gonna end, and I wanna lean towards people, but every time it's like a push for me to lean towards myself. So I guess like a leadership role in a way. And then I always notice that ripple into other people.
Yeah.
I guess like when you're around people, say you have a group of 3 friends and you really want to grow and be a better person, but your 2 friends are really into like partying and stuff,
Mhm.
you will become the third party person.
Yeah, definitely.
But if those 2 friends are into growth and bettering themselves, you'll do that as well naturally. Like we become our environment.
Mhm.
And I think there are people that have that strength and like, yeah, leadership to stay solid and be a pillar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've always felt like my life lessons and things have pushed me towards being that pillar and having the strength to stay strong
Mhm.
and stay on this path instead of being pulled back.
Yeah.
Because that's a common theme in my life is being pulled back
Mhm.
and peer pressured and just doing what everyone else is doing for the sake of friends, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if that made sense, but that's how I feel about my purpose right now, I guess.
Yeah, that made sense. I think you've always
Mm,
been that for, like, our family anyway. I've always seen you as kind
mm.
of the one who always is, like, kinda looking after everyone. You always kinda know what's going on and what everyone needs.
Yeah, I seem to know what they need, but it doesn't mean they're gonna listen, guys.
No, you're in the wrong family for that.
Yeah. No, but that's just it as well. I've noticed I can't guide people with my voice. I have to guide people through my actions.
Yeah, yeah, I found that too. People, you could be like, "Oh, you need to be doing this," but until you actually start implementing it in your own life and then feeling better and, looking happier and all the things, then they'll start being like, "What are you doing? What have you
Mm.
changed?" And then they'll listen.
Yeah, for sure.
Long story short, you're an alien.
Yeah. Sorry you had to find out this way.
Yeah, I always knew.
It was me flying over your house.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. My thought was never like, "Oh, that's aliens." It was always just like, "What is that? And why is it going so slow? And why is it so silent?" But then there's like America has this stealth bomber planes and stuff. But even then, why would there be one flying over my little town in New Zealand? And
Mm.
why didn't nobody else notice it?
What do you think the purpose of aliens is?
Huh?
What do you think the purpose of aliens is? Uh, you know how humans, like, do humans even have a purpose, like, as a collective? They must do.
No. I don't know.
I always thought it was to raise the vibration of Earth. Like, you know how every living being has a frequency?
Yeah, but I feel like Earth would probably be happier if we weren't here. But I don't know. I guess I've heard that people come to Earth, or, spirits, souls, whatever they are, come to Earth for a life to experience all of the emotions and things that life and on Earth has, like, and that humans experience that aren't experienced in other planets.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that. So, why do you think aliens come here? Do you think they want to, like, take over Earth or.
If it's true that there's lots of different aliens out there, if there's lots of different civilizations and planets and stuff, then there's probably different purposes for all of them.
Mm,
Like, some might be nefarious, some might be using us to mine gold. I think we talked about that in the first one. And some of them might be here just like on holiday. Let's go check out Earth for the weekend. Have a quick fly around. And then some of them might be like messing with us on purpose. Like, let's just show ourselves real quick to these guys to freak them out and then disappear again. You know, 'Cause I'd do that.
yeah, me too.
And then some of them might be like studying us for science, like how we study apes and chimps and stuff. And I don't know.
I bet if we asked them, they would tell us. But I'm too scared to ask, so it's not going to be me, sorry.
There's a lot of people around. I don't know when it was, around the Cold War, I think, that started seeing aliens and having sightings. I think, what's that called when you have a sighting, like a communication with an alien? There's a phrase for it.
I'm not sure.
First person, third person, or something. A lot of them around that time said the same thing. Was these aliens showed up and started saying, "You guys are in serious danger of nuclear war, and you need to stop right now." And you need to warn your people. Like, we're telling you this, and then you need to go back and warn people about this. So a lot of people were talking about how the aliens came to them and were like, nah, not a good idea. So I don't know.
Wasn't there that ship that flew over the Russian base and activated that?
Yeah, there's been a few of those. I think one was in the US. A ship flew over a US base somewhere, military base, and turned on their nuclear weapons, and then they freaked out and turned them off. And then same thing happened in the Soviet Union somewhere. So it's definitely happened. These things, whatever they are, beings or something, just to show us that they can do it, that they're fully capable of it. They did. So it could also be like military. The US government has these secret programs. So it could be that. And part of me thinks that it probably is. Because if they try to tell us that it's aliens, then I don't believe them. There's a lot of these sightings are around places like Roswell, New Mexico, or like places near a military base, Area 51 and stuff. Or yeah, so I mean that's not a coincidence. So either the aliens come to the military base to check it out, or it's the military.
I feel like the military bases would be the most interesting because they have the top secret stuff and the stuff that a lot of humans don't even know about.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say.
Do you know the Bob Lazar story?
No.
Bob Lazar would be my top podcast guest. He'd be so cool to have on. I'd love to talk to him. He's Joe Rogan is the only guy who's ever managed to have him on a podcast, and it's still to this day Joe Rogan's top listened to episode. Um, so Bob Lazar was, I can't remember, I think it was in the 70s. Um, he was working allegedly for, he was like this really smart guy, and the US government showed up one day and tried to hire him for this top secret project at the military base, which was at Area 51, which at that time wasn't nobody like Area 51 was a thing and it was kind of a conspiracy theory, but the government hadn't admitted to it. Anyway, so he worked on this top secret project for I think a couple years where they would pick him up at random times. He'd be on random shifts and he'd go to this secret, the high security clearance place, and he would work on this alien tech, this random technology that he'd never seen before. Nobody could explain it. And they would work in these small groups of like they'd be confined to their group of people and they weren't allowed to talk to anyone else. So it was very compartmentalized. And he said that it was back engineered alien tech, like it was an alien ship, and it was built for really small beings, like a human couldn't fit in where the seats were and stuff. But it would, the way it worked was completely not any technology that we had. So they studied it for years, but he said that the progress was really slow because it was so compartmentalized, like they weren't allowed to talk to anyone else about it. So anyway, his marriage ended up falling apart because this was so top secret that he couldn't tell anyone and he'd have to be at work at random times. So his wife thought he was cheating on him. So then she started cheating on him. So his marriage fell apart. And because his marriage fell apart, the government then fired him and just let him go all of a sudden. So anyway, long story short, after that, he got let go and he decided to kind of become a whistleblower about it all because he thought it was important that the people knew that this was going on. So he came out and I think he did a private interview with like his face covered and stuff so you couldn't tell it was him. And that kind of blew up the UFO world at that point. I think it was in the 70s. And all of a sudden he became super famous and the US government and this facility completely denied ever that he'd ever worked there, denied that he'd went to the universities that he said he'd went to. All of it was like, no, this he's lying. He's crazy. He's a liar. And slowly, since then, decades later, all of these different points of his story have been proven true. Like that he did in fact work there. He knew the facility, he knew all the staff, he knew like he'd said in the interview back in the 70s that the way to get into the facility was this like crazy technology where they'd measure his hand size and that was how you'd get into the building. And at that time, nobody knew that that was a thing. But now, years later, we know that that was a thing. At that time, the military was using this technology of measuring the hand size. So, like, lots of these little pieces have come together years later. And his story to this day is exactly the same. Nothing has changed. And he talks about this element 115 that was being used. And that's what the aliens were used for this ship to, like, make it fly, to control gravity or whatever. And back then, that wasn't an element. So everyone was like, he's crazy. Fast forward to a few years ago, it was discovered as an actual element. So, anyway, his story has just been really fascinating for a lot of UFO crazy people because it is, he hasn't changed his story and he hasn't like made money off of it or anything. Like, he doesn't want to be famous. What do you think of that?
That's interesting. You'd think they would just like take him out.
Yeah, well, I think the CIA or someone, FBI, raided his house, and he was really, really nervous to do the Rogan interview. He, like, did not wanna do it. So go listen to that because it's interesting.
Yeah, we'll link it down below too for anyone interested.
Mm. And there is a movie, Jeremy Corbell did a film called Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers, and it's really good about his whole story. I don't know. I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Mm. There's this whole universe of, UFO people that are in this whole community and follow all of the details. It's pretty fascinating.
I feel like sometime soon we'll know some more about this kind of stuff. Oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. I don't know. The more that we learn about it with these Senate hearings and stuff, the more it makes me doubt it.
Yeah, they've probably, again, just got like 1% of truth, and then the rest is just like a made up part to fill the rest in.
Mm.
I don't know.
What really gets me about this whole story, though, is I don't know. I was watching this film about animal mutilations the other day, which sounds so weird.
What the?
It was like a dumb alien documentary, but yeah, it was all about how cow mutilations have been a thing for years and how it's crazy. You kind of hear about like cows being sucked up by alien spaceships and stuff, but I never knew where that came from. Um, but it has been a thing for so long where ranchers and farmers will go out in the morning and find a cow that was perfectly healthy, totally fine, somehow drained of blood completely without any injuries to be seen. There's nothing weird about it, and it's, like, still standing, but it's dead, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that, or it's been like, its sexual organs have been completely removed, but there's, like, no scarring or anything, and there's all kinds of crazy examples of that all around the US and probably other areas too, and, there's been stories about it being, like, Satan cults and stuff, but how? How do you remove all the blood from something without anything? And then often the cow, they'll leave it there because, you don't know what to do with it. And months go by and not a single wolf or coyote or anything eats it. Like they don't want to
Oh,
go near it. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's perfectly, like, it looks fine. Don't know. Creepy. Gross. If I saw one of those, I'd move.
Yeah, that is strange.
But then, like, what on earth would an alien want with a cow's ovaries?
Not sure. Don't really want to think about that.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to have nightmares now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It was a scary film. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that was our alien chat. There's a lot you could talk about here, but I think it's interesting to just think about and wonder about because we'll never really know for sure. But there's something going on.
Yeah. But don't worry, this probably won't be our last alien episode since this is the reason why Jade's here.
How could you tell?
But for now, that concludes part 2.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.